Welcome to NTD News. I'm Holly Kellum. Here are today's top stories. The House begins public impeachment hearings. It's the first time in 2 decades Congress has held such hearings. Democrats announce more witnesses to testify next week. President Trump speaks at the Economic Club of New York, reminding Americans of the across-the-board economic job gains since his election win. He also criticized the Federal Reserve for policies he says undermined those gains. The chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee says he wants the Senate to pass legislation to support pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. Clashes between police and protesters continue to ramp up. Tesla CEO Elon Musk announced that Berlin will be the site of Tesla's first European production plant. Germany's economy minister praised the decision. Musk also speaks on the rise of electric vehicles. Today on Capitol Hill, the impeachment inquiry into President Trump kicks off a new public phase. These are the first impeachment hearings in 2 decades.
The House Intelligence Committee issued 2 subpoenas early Wednesday. The first went to Ambassador Bill Taylor, the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, and the second to George Kent, a State Department official who oversees U.S. policy in Ukraine. Chairman of the House Committee, Adam Schiff's opening statement laid out the Democrats' accusation against Trump. They say during a July 25th phone call, the president leveraged military aid and a White House visit on a promise that Ukraine would investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter. An intelligence community whistleblower issued a complaint about the call, prompting the inquiry. Following Schiff's statement, Congressman Devin Nunes demanded answers about the Democrats' involvement with the whistleblower and Hunter Biden's involvement with Ukrainian energy company Burisma. Citing that Republican-called witnesses require approval by Schiff or the Democrat majority House, Nunes called the hearing a televised performance staged by the Democrats. Republicans are set to argue that both leaders have said there was no pressure, that Ukraine wasn't aware there was a hold on aid on July 25th, and that Taylor and Kent don't offer a first-hand account of the president's conversation. Later this week on Friday, Mary Yovanovitch, a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, will testify. Beyond that, lawmakers expect at least 1 more week of public hearings.
Republicans yesterday released their strategy to fight the impeachment of President Trump. Most of it rests on convincing the American public that there is no evidence Trump committed high crimes and misdemeanors. The strategy took the form of a memo circulated to the Republicans on the 3 committees investigating the president. The investigation centers on a July 25th call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. On the call, Trump asked Zelensky to investigate potential corruption by former Vice President Joe Biden. Shortly before the call, the White House withheld almost $400 million in military aid to Ukraine. House Democrats are looking for evidence Trump used the aid as leverage to get an investigation into a political rival. Trump has denied that was his motive. He said he was worried about corruption in Ukraine and also wanted to pressure the EU to pay more for Ukraine's defense. In making their case, Republicans will point out that the Ukrainians were not told the aid was being withheld until after it was sent. They also point to the fact that the aid was released without any investigation into Biden. Zelensky has said that he didn't feel pressure to comply with Trump's request.
I think, and you read it, that nobody pushed it.
President Trump has also promised to release the transcript of another phone call he had with Zelensky. He says it will show he did nothing wrong.
They asked for it, and I gladly give it.
Wednesday is the start of the open part of the impeachment hearings. 2 State Department officials are set to testify. Holly Kellum, NTD News. And President Trump highlighted the success of the economy while speaking at the Economic Club of New York yesterday, attributing the boom in growth and jobs to his policies.
Trump told guests at the New York Hilton that his administration has delivered on promises and far exceeded expectations.
Well, thank you very much, Bob.
Likewise, he pointed to the economy's 10th year of uninterrupted expansion and near record low unemployment, which he attributes to his tax, trade, and deregulation policies.
We have ended the war on American workers. We have stopped the assault on American industry, and we have launched an economic boom, the likes of which we have never seen before.
Trump reiterated his disapproval of the Federal Reserve's actions since he won the election. He criticized the Fed's quantitative tightening and 8 rate increases, which he called far too fast an increase and far too slow a decrease.
Because remember, we are actively competing with nations who openly cut interest rates, so that now many are actually getting paid when they pay off their loan, known as negative interest. Who ever heard of such a thing? The Federal Reserve doesn't.
He added that the Fed doesn't let us play at that game.
It puts us at a competitive disadvantage to other countries.
Wall Street also watched the president's remarks closely, looking for signs that might hint at the future of the economy. One such sign is the first step of a broader U.S.-China trade deal, which Trump said could happen soon.
Protesters in Hong Kong have blocked all entrances to a major university in anticipation of another offensive by police. NTD's Paul Greeny reports from the Chinese University of Hong Kong.
Pro-democracy protesters were staked out the Chinese University of Hong Kong Tuesday night and Wednesday morning after an intense standoff with police.
It was already very, very intense. Many people got injured. Professors were terrified.
Protests have been ongoing for 5 months, but there are some things that make these protests unusual. On Wednesday, the CCP ordered all Hong Kong-based mainland students back to the mainland. The police also did not respond when protesters strategically blocked the main highway near the university.
I think it is weird that they retreated and let us take over the bridge, using it to transport any maybe soldiers or more supplies.
The police left the scene late Tuesday night local time after firing tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters.
So as you can see here, the students have been collecting the tear gas canisters and the rubber bullets. The police have said that over 1,500 tear gas canisters and 1,300 rubber bullets were fired within only a 3-hour period here at the university yesterday.
It's unclear why police targeted the protests at the university. Protests were happening in other parts of the city at the same time. Some see the university as a symbol of the pro-democracy movement. It houses Hong Kong's internet exchange that facilitates much of the island's internet traffic.
It's a campus in the university. How can you do this with our students?
Students and lecturers lamented the Chinese Communist Party's encroachment on the region, which many see as the root cause of the tensions.
We want to keep the Hong Kong way of living, the Hong Kong way of running a place, running a government.
As of Wednesday morning, protesters were still preparing for the police to return. Reporting by Paul Greeny, NTD News.
The chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee says he wants the Senate to pass legislation supporting the Hong Kong protesters. Violent confrontations between police and demonstrators have been escalating to a new level, and fears are growing as to what may happen next.
Republican Senator Jim Risch is the co-sponsor of the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, which would place Hong Kong's special treatment by the United States under tighter scrutiny. The House of Representatives unanimously passed the bill in mid-October, but it hasn't been scheduled for a vote by the full Senate.
And we want it moved. Tomorrow we are actually having a meeting on trying to get some scheduling moved on that. The world needs to see that the United States will stand up and say, look, this is wrong. We stand with the people of Hong Kong.
Police in Hong Kong battled pro-democracy protesters at several university campuses on Wednesday, in sometimes savage clashes, as parts of the city were paralyzed, including Hong Kong's financial district, which was tear-gassed for a third day running. Those flare-ups occurred a day after police shot an unarmed protester at close range. Risch and fellow Senator Marco Rubio, the lead Senate sponsors of the Hong Kong bill, are set to meet Wednesday with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to discuss the possibility of getting floor time for a vote on the bill.
It is vitally important that the United States Senate take up and pass the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. We have delayed long enough. We have waited long enough. That act should come to the floor and it should be voted upon.
In a speech on the Senate floor Tuesday, McConnell said Beijing's insatiable thirst for control was undermining Hong Kong's autonomy.
I'm eager to continue working with colleagues such as Senator Risch, Senator Graham, Senator Rubio, and others toward a strong and procedurally workable solution.
The legislation has 37 Republican and Democratic co-sponsors in the 100-member Senate. A number of senators expressed deep concern and support for the pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong.
As trade talks between Washington and Beijing intensified earlier this year, suspected Chinese hackers broke into an industry group for U.S. manufacturers that has helped shape President Trump's trade policies. Unnamed sources told Reuters that the National Association of Manufacturers, or NAM, was hacked over the summer. They say NAM hired a cybersecurity firm, which concluded the attack came from China. It happened shortly before negotiations between the U.S. and the Chinese Communist Party over the contents of a potential trade deal. NAM hired outside cybersecurity firms to stop the intrusion. They say the network is now secure. It's unclear why hackers targeted NAM and what data was stolen, but national security experts say it is well known that the Chinese Communist Party agencies try to steal sensitive company secrets, especially those that can give them a leg up in business negotiations. Spanish police say they are searching for Venezuela's former military intelligence chief. This comes days after local media said a Spanish court had agreed to extradite him to the U.S.
Hugo Carvajal is an ally of Venezuela's late socialist leader Hugo Chavez and is wanted by U.S. authorities on allegations of drug trafficking. After local media reported he had gone missing, Spanish police confirmed they were looking for Carvajal but declined to specify when they had begun their search and the reason. His lawyer could not immediately be reached for comment. Carvajal had been arrested by Spanish police in April at the request of U.S. authorities, but Spain's High Court had initially ruled that he should be released and his extradition request denied.
Do you agree to be extradited?
I don't agree.
The same court reversed course and approved the extradition request after an appeal, but Carvajal was already out of custody. Authorities in Washington have said they believe he could share incriminating information about Maduro.
Tesla's CEO says that Berlin will be the site of Tesla's first European production plant. It will build batteries, powertrains, and vehicles, starting with a lower-priced CUV known as Model Y.
Tesla founder and CEO Elon Musk announced the news on Tuesday at an annual automotive awards event in Germany. He commented on the rise of electric cars since the launch of Tesla's first car, named the Roadster, in 2008.
It's pretty wild to think that 11 years ago today, we had made literally one car, and a year from now, we will have made 1 million.
By building a plant in Germany, Tesla will be able to add the Made in Germany accolade. German engineering is well renowned based on its production of automotive giants like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi.
Tesla's decision to set up a large battery and automobile factory in Germany is a great success for Germany as a business hub.
Germany's economy minister said that the news will not only create long-term jobs, but will also mark a milestone in electromobility and battery cell production. He says he expects that now Germany will become an important international hub in this growth area. The production plant will also house an engineering and design center. Last month, Tesla said it expected to begin production at its European plant in 2021. This follows the opening of the carmaker's new gigafactory in Shanghai that began trial production in October.
Israel's prime minister met with top military and security officials today to discuss the latest spate of fighting with Gaza militants. Meanwhile, rocket sirens continue to sound in several communities along the border.
Israel's prime minister and defense minister on Wednesday met with senior military and security officials. The outbreak of fighting is the worst seen in months. Over 200 rockets have been fired into Israel from Gaza since Tuesday. Southern Israel is on high alert. Residents have been urged to stay near bomb shelters. Those that can have sought refuge away from the area. The streets are quiet. Schools and shops are closed. Gaza militants are acting in retaliation for the killing of one of their commanders early Tuesday morning. Israel accuses the Islamic Jihad commander of planning terror attacks on the country. Israel Defense Forces are responding to the rocket fire with targeted airstrikes in Gaza. At least 24 Palestinians have been killed in the strikes and 48 homes damaged, some of them destroyed. Hamas is the main terrorist group in Gaza, but has not been involved in the fighting so far. The United Nations Middle East envoy will meet with the president of Egypt to lead de-escalation efforts. According to local media, following the talks, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said they had agreed on a series of follow-up steps.
A suicide bomber has attacked police headquarters in Indonesia, wounding 6 people. The suspect, a 24-year-old student.
Lots of vehicles were damaged, I guess, including a truck near the blast site. Because he was in the middle of 3 parked trucks, it was a huge blast and I saw windows and roofs falling apart.
4 police officers and 2 civilians were wounded by the blast in a car park at Medan Police Headquarters shortly before 9 a.m. on Wednesday local time.
All of the evidence that we found at the crime scene is still under investigation at the forensic lab, whether it's a high or low level of explosive.
The police spokesman said they suspected a 24-year-old university student. They believe he acted as a lone wolf. Police plan to investigate whether the man had links to any militant group, such as the Islamic State-inspired Jama'at Ansarud Daulah or JID group. The attack comes a month after a suspected Islamist militant attacked a former security minister after he had opened a university building. The Indonesian government has tightened its anti-terrorism laws after a series of suicide attacks linked to JID killed more than 30 people last year.
Up next, the mayor of Venice, Italy, declared a state of disaster after one of the highest tides in history. 2 people died in the flooding, and more bad weather is expected. That and more when we return.
This is extremely gutsy. The Chinese Communist Party is not known for taking criticism very well.
The police have blocked off the streets and been firing tear gas and beanbag rounds at the protesters, and they've made several arrests.
警方呢是一直进行了一些推进，并且呢是多次舉起黑旗和橙旗呢，去發射了很多的催淚彈。
即係佢哋放催淚彈嗰時，嘭咁撞到個肚㗎。咁咧就我而家翻轉頭咧，見到個咁嘅嘢，因為嗰時兵荒馬亂啦，我就。
That's the media liaison. They're telling us that we need to get out of here. They're telling the press to leave.
Boy, this tear gas is getting pretty strong.
The mayor of Venice has declared a state of disaster after one of the highest tides in the city's history.
The highest tide in 50 years and has forced businesses and schools to close. Officials said 2 people have died in the flooding. The mayor of Venice has declared a state of emergency. He warned of severe damage to the city and said the cost will be high. Winds from the north and south enter the harbor entrance, pushing the sea into the lagoon and increasing the tide. The sea has submerged the island of Palestrina, an island that defends Venice. Officials said the tide peaked at 6.1 feet, just short of the record set in 1966. St. Mark's Square was submerged by more than 3 feet of water, the adjacent basilica suffering its 6th flood in 1,200 years. Video showed water flowing like a river along one of Venice's main thoroughfares. Nearly every home appeared to have floodwaters lapping the entrance. Much of Italy has been pummeled by torrential rains in recent days, with widespread flooding, especially in the southern heel and toe of the country. The worst may not be over yet, as more bad weather is forecast over the next few days.
Australian officials today ordered residents and tourists to get out of the way of fast-approaching flames as firefighters struggled to contain more than 150 bushfires raging on the eastern side of the country.
The massive bushfires consuming Australia have now swallowed up at least 300 homes in New South Wales state alone. On Wednesday, some that had evacuated returned to demolished houses.
The amount of work that was put into this place to make it the home it is, and then to lose it in one night with a fire.
The flames stretch from the north coast to within meters of homes outside major city Sydney. And on Wednesday, authorities ordered leave immediately warnings, the highest level, for several parts of Queensland. While the threat in New South Wales was downgraded from catastrophic, fire officials are fretting over hot and windy conditions set to spike again next week.
We will not have all these fires contained before then. We will not have all these fires contained and locked up for many, many weeks, given the enormity of the firefighting effort. Unfortunately, what we need is rain. What we need is meaningful rain, and there is certainly nothing in the forecast for the foreseeable future that's going to make any discernible difference to the conditions that we are experiencing.
Bushfires are common in Australian summers, but this year's are earlier and fiercer than normal. Since Friday, the blazes have claimed a handful of lives and acres upon acres of farmland and bush.
Up next, as China pork prices reach historic highs, African swine flu and environmental protection policies are to blame. More on that after the break.
Factual,
honest news.
Not biased, but completely straightforward.
You're not emotionally going up and down.
Bringing morality back to newspapers.
The honest, old-fashioned journalism.
You're presenting the facts and letting the reader decide.
The Epoch Times is a fearlessly independent news media that publishes in 35 countries and 21 languages. Truth and tradition is our motto. Founded as an antidote to communist propaganda, today we're quickly becoming a household name across America. Our subscribers thank us for our relentless and unbiased coverage.
I've been part of the Epoch Times for nearly a decade because I've seen there's no other major media outlet in the world as devoted to real journalism. The Epoch Times has never had any corporate or political agenda. We only serve our readers, and we'll stay that way, no matter what.
We connected the dots around Spygate, the Obama administration's elaborate efforts against Trump's 2016 campaign. We often break news months ahead of other media on topics such as Chinese espionage, cyber warfare, subversion in America, and more. But our authoritative reporting didn't only just begin. We are tried and true.
Our paper was born out of the need to respond to a human rights catastrophe in China. It was enabled by the Communist Party's vicious and dishonest propaganda. We soon learned that Western media were picking up and amplifying the lies. The Epoch Times' truthful reporting exposed the Communist Party's lies for the Chinese people. But it also helped protect our Western audience. It disabused for them the lies in this propaganda. Our reporting has also helped uncover how communist ideas are taking root in our own country. The Epoch Times started as a small and unknown publication in one of the toughest media markets in the world. We have built it through hard work and trial and error.
We were founded in the year 2000 in Atlanta, Georgia, by Chinese Americans who had fled communist China. Our independent reporting came at a price. Our staff members in China were jailed and tortured for their reporting, some for as long as 10 years. Because our founders believed in truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, the principles of the spiritual practice fallen gone. They felt such sacrifices were worth it to ensure for the world an independent, honest media, one that would report on the most pressing issues of our time. As many major media are losing people's trust and declining further every day, the fastest growing newspaper in America delivers truth and tradition. Look us up today.
Consumers in Beijing have expressed concern this week about a recent spike in China's pork prices. A market survey shows pork consumption has declined by 30% since October.
The price rise is good news for producers and farmers able to get their pigs to slaughter, but bad news for those on the other side of the table. The price of pork has increased, and definitely there are less people buying it and eating it. Honestly speaking, we don't want the prices to be high. We sell more when the price is lower. If the cost is high, the profits will be low. Zhu Zhengyong is a researcher from the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences. He says the current price of pork has reached a historical high. The main reasons for the price increase are the African swine fever epidemic and environmental protection policies. A retiree Miss Chen said she used to eat pork 2 to 3 times a week, but now only once a week. Several restaurants said they are already affected by the price spike, but customers in many restaurants in central Beijing have yet to see this affect the cost of their meals. For white-collar workers like me, the impact isn't that great because we don't usually go to markets to buy meat and produce, and we haven't felt like there has been an obvious adjustment or increase in the price of meat in nearby restaurants. The current situation is like this. Experts and industry insiders say that with pig populations still low, they do not expect prices to return to more normal levels until well into 2020.
Protesters in Nepal burned an effigy of Chinese leader Xi Jinping to protest against land encroachment by China.
The protesters chanted anti-China slogans and held a banner saying "Down with Chinese expansionism" during a Monday protest. In early November, the Nepal Survey Department released a report on land use. It showed that 4 districts on the border with China are at risk of losing hundreds of acres to China due to the expansion of road projects. Xi Jinping visited Nepal in mid-October. During his visit, the government signed separate deals for a rail link to Tibet and a tunnel. They also signed agreements covering trade, water supply, and traditional medicines.
Up next, in a surprise box office win, Roland Emmerich's World War II epic Midway took down the competition in North America to land in first place with $17.5 million on opening weekend. More on that after the break.
This season, take an incredible journey through 5,000 years of culture with Shen Yun. Discover why people are calling Shen Yun a visual feast, a pleasure to the ear, an epic tale, a must-see. Shen Yun, an all-new production every year.
Today is World Kindness Day. An organization called the World Kindness Movement introduced the day in 1998. 28 countries now mark November 13th with acts of kindness. A campaign to wear cardigans for this year's day has spread on social media. A Pittsburgh broadcasting station wants people to channel the spirit of Mr. Rogers. Social media users are urging people to use the hashtag World Kindness Day to show off their good deeds and cardigans. Kindness UK also listed a few things you can do to spread kindness. They include doing a good deed, giving someone a compliment, holding the door for someone, and volunteering. In a surprise box office win, Roland Emmerich's World War II epic Midway took down the competition in North America to land in first place with $17.5 million.
The war film focuses on real-life events from the Battle of Midway in World War II. It was a clash by air and sea, which pivoted the Allied forces towards victory. The battle took place in June 1942, 6 months after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor and 1 month before the Battle of the Coral Sea. The film focuses on real-life U.S. Navy bomber pilot Richard Dick Best, played by British actor Ed Skrein. In another surprise, older males represented 60% of the audience for Midway, a demographic that doesn't usually turn out in large numbers on opening weekends. While $17.5 million isn't much on its own, Midway still managed to unseat Stephen King adaptation Dr. Sleep, which was projected to top #1, as well as the family-friendly comedy Playing with Fire. And in fourth place was holiday rom-com Last Christmas.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us again tonight. I'm Holly Kellum.